I never meant to fall for him. That was never the plan. In fact, when Logan first moved in, I swore to myself that I wouldn't even look at him that way. We were just supposed to be roommates, people sharing rent, navigating heartbreak, keeping things simple. But life doesn't care about plans and hearts don't follow rules. The truth is, I think something shifted in me the moment I walked into our tiny apartment and saw him barefoot in the kitchen, shirtless, drinking orange juice straight from the carton, like it was the most natural thing in the world. His hair was still wet from the shower, his grin lopsided, easy. There was nothing remarkable about the moment, and maybe that's what made it so dangerous, because it felt like home. And home for me had always been complicated. We had this unspoken agreement in the beginning. No feelings, no flirting, no sex. We didn't even say it out loud, but we both knew. I'd just come out of a 3-year relationship that left me hollow, unsure of who I was without someone else defining me. He'd been cheated on by someone he said he would have married. We were two people trying to patch up the cracks in ourselves, not looking for anything more than shared Wi-Fi and someone to split utility bills with. And at first it worked. We gave each other space. We joked, shared groceries, left notes on the fridge about milk and eggs. There was comfort in that rhythm. Familiar, safe, but comfort is a funny thing. It lures you in slowly. I started noticing the little things, how he always made enough pasta for two without asking. How he watched the shows I liked just because I liked them. How he remembered my favorite kind of tea and left it on the counter when I had a bad day. I'd come home late from work, exhausted and numb, and there he'd be barefoot again, humming some terrible 90s song while stirring a pot of something on the stove. It was so domestic, so soft, that it made my chest ache. Still, I kept pretending. Told myself we were fine, just roommates. Nothing more. But that all changed on one rainy night I'll never forget. I'd had a brutal fight with my mom on the phone. I was soaked from the downpour. And the moment I walked through that door, something inside me cracked. I started crying ugly, gasping sobs I didn't know I'd been holding in. And Logan. He didn't say a word. He just walked over and pulled me into his chest like it was the most natural thing in the world. No hesitation, no awkwardness, just warmth, just him, his arms around me, his chin resting on the top of my head, his hands drawing slow, grounding, circles on my back. It wasn't sexy or planned or anything close to the fantasies I'd secretly buried. It was real. That was the first moment I let myself feel it. Let myself want him, not just his body, but all of him. His laugh, his loyalty. Ridiculous late-night ramen experiments, everything. And I think, deep down, he felt it too. But neither of us said a word. We just stood there in the dim hallway light, breathing in sync, hearts too loud, the air heavy with something we didn't have a name for yet. That night didn't end in a kiss. There was no line crossed, no clothes taken off, but something far more dangerous happened. We cracked the wall between us, and once that crack opened, was only a matter of time before everything changed. Asterisk, I wish I could say it happened slowly, that we built up to it, that we talked, that we had time to think. But the truth is, it happened fast, like fire catching a dry branch. 1 minute, we were on opposite sides of the couch, watching some bad horror movie we weren't even paying attention. 2, and the next. His hand brushed mine, barely a touch. But it sent a spark straight to the center of me. I remember looking at him and seeing something in his eyes. Hesitation, hope, maybe hunger, maybe all of it at once. The kind of look that makes your pulse skip, your breath catch, your excuses crumble. And then he leaned in, just slightly. Just enough. I could have pulled away. I should have. But I didn't. I closed the space between us like I'd been waiting for the moment all my life. His mouth was warm, soft at first, like he wasn't sure if he had permission. But when I kissed him, really kissed him, everything changed. It wasn't tender anymore. It was messy and urgent and filled with every unspoken word we'd been choking on for months. I ended up in his lap, straddling him, hands in his hair, breathless and shaking. When he whispered my name, it didn't sound like a question. It sounded like a promise. We didn't make it to the bedroom. We barely made it to the floor. Clothes came off like they'd been waiting to be shed. There was nothing rehearsed or perfect about it. We knocked over a lamp, someone's phone buzzed, my sock never came off. But none of it mattered, because it felt real. Like every nerve ending had been lit up. Like I finally remembered what it meant to want without guilt or fear. Afterward, we didn't say much. Just lay there, tangled up, my cheek on his chest, our bodies sticky and still. I could hear his heart pounding. I could feel his fingers tracing slow, quiet lines along my spine. The air was thick with everything we weren't saying. I wanted to ask him what this meant. I wanted to tell him I felt different. That I felt everything. But instead, I got up, pulled my shirt over my head, and said the dumbest thing imaginable. That can't happen again. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes dimmed. Right? He said. Just roommates. He didn't sound angry. He sounded disappointed, hurt. I went to bed and stared at the ceiling for what felt like hours, replaying it all in my head, how it felt to be touched like that, seen like that. And underneath the adrenaline and the guilt was this terrifying realization. I didn't want it to be a one-time thing. I wanted more, so much more. But I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know if I was ready, because love had never been safe for me. It had always come with strings, with expectations, with pain. And Logan, he was the one good thing in my life that didn't come with baggage. I was afraid if we crossed that line again, we wouldn't be able to go back. That if it fell apart, I'd lose him. Not just the sex or the intimacy, but the quiet comfort of him humming in the kitchen, the small smiles when we passed in the hallway, the knowing glances when I had a bad day. I couldn't risk it, so I told myself it was just a mistake, just a moment of weakness. But I knew, even as I whispered that lie to myself in the dark. It wasn't just a night. It was the beginning of everything I didn't know I wanted. Asterisk, the worst. Part wasn't the silence. It was the pretending. Pretending that night never happened, that my skin didn't still remember the way his hands felt, that I wasn't falling harder every damn day. We went back to normal on the surface. He made coffee in the mornings. I left notes on the fridge. We shared takeout and bad jokes like always. But underneath it all, something had shifted. We both felt it. Our eyes would meet and hold just a second too long. His hand would brush mine when we passed each other in the kitchen, and it would leave this invisible burn I carried for hours. Every laugh, every glance, every shared silence had a pulse now. And I was doing everything in my power to ignore it. Logan didn't push. He gave me space. He didn't bring it up, didn't ask for more. But his restraint only made me want him. More. Want us more. I found myself watching him when he wasn't looking, how he ran his hand through his hair when he was tired. The way his mouth curled when he was trying not to laugh. How his shoulders tensed when I mentioned another guy in passing. There were moments when I almost said something. When I almost cracked, but I was terrified of what would come next. If I opened that door, I didn't think I could close it again. And the idea of losing him scared me more than the idea of never having him. Then came the night that broke the lie wide open. I'd gone on a date, nothing serious. Just a guy from work who asked, and I said yes before I could think too hard about why. The whole night felt wrong. I kept comparing him to Logan, noticing everything that was missing: his sense of humor, his kindness, his warmth. The guy kissed me goodnight, and I felt nothing, not even guilt, just emptiness. I came home late expecting Logan to be asleep. But he was in the living room, sitting in the dark, one lamp on, nursing a beer. "You're back," he said, voice flat. "Yeah. Didn't go that well," I mumbled, dropping my bag. He nodded. "Did he kiss you?" I froze. "What?" Just wondering if it worked. Going out with someone else, did it help? I couldn't lie. Not to him. No, he stood slowly, walked toward me. "I've been trying to respect your space," he said, "but it's killing me. I can't sit here and act like I don't want you, like I didn't feel something real that night." I swallowed hard, my heart racing. I felt it too. His eyes searched mine. "Then why are we pretending it didn't happen?" "Because I don't know how to do this, Logan. What if it ends badly? What if we ruin everything?" He stepped closer, close enough that I could feel his breath. "But what if we don't? What if this is the thing that makes everything better?" And that's when I broke. I kissed him hard, desperate, like I'd been holding it back for far too long. And this time, there was no pulling away, no apologies, no confusion. We fell into each other like gravity had been waiting for us to stop resisting. When we woke up tangled in his sheets the next morning, everything felt different, but in the best way. Natural, right? Like this was exactly where we were always meant to be. I didn't say it then, not out loud, but I knew I was already his dot. And that terrified me more than anything. Because love like that doesn't come without a cost. And I knew, deep down, the price was coming. It's wild how quickly happiness can turn into fear. Real fear. The kind that sneaks up on you just when you start to feel safe. For the first time in so long, I was happy with him. Waking up tangled in Logan's arms felt like breathing after holding it in for years. The way he kissed the top of my shoulder before getting out of bed. How he'd bring me coffee in my favorite mug and smile at me like he couldn't believe I was real. I was finally letting myself believe that this thing between us wasn't temporary. It was becoming something real, something terrifying, and beautiful, and maybe that was the problem. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. It did, not in some dramatic explosion, but in this small gut punch way, real heartbreak sneaks in. It was a Saturday morning, sunny and quiet. And I was still wearing one of Logan's t-shirts when I heard the knock at the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. But when I opened it, a woman stood there. Tall, confident, familiar in a way that made my stomach twist before I even understood why I'm looking for Logan, she said, her eyes scanning me, my bare legs, the shirt, my morning hair with practiced ease. Before I could answer, Logan appeared behind me. I felt him freeze. "Claire," he said, voice low. "Claire. His ex, the one who cheated, the one who broke him. The one he said was out of the picture for good." My heart started pounding as they stood there in silence. I stepped back, suddenly cold, suddenly too aware of how naked I felt, not just physically, but emotionally. I grabbed a hoodie, wrapped it around myself like armor, and waited. She asked to talk. Alone, and Logan agreed. I hated how quickly that burned. The fact that he didn't even look at me first. Didn't ask if I was okay with it. Just nodded and stepped outside with her. Closing the door behind them, they were out there for nearly an hour. I didn't listen at the door. I couldn't. I sat on the couch, staring at my hands, hearts thudding, every insecurity I'd buried clawing its way back up. Was I just a rebound? Was this whole thing just a distraction for him until she came back around? I'd seen it happen before. People always go back to the ones who break them. That kind of pain doesn't just disappear, it lingers, warps things, pulls you back in when you're weak. When Logan finally came back inside, he looked pale, quiet, and I was too afraid to ask what they talked about. He sat beside me, and I felt the distance before he even spoke. "She's moving back to the city," he said softly. "She wanted to tell me herself. Said she's sorry for everything, that she regrets it all." I stared at him, trying to read his face. "And what do you feel?" He hesitated. That tiny pause shattered something in me. "I don't know." He whispered, "I'm confused." There it was. It's the truth. And it broke me. I stood up, my voice barely steady. "I can't do this if there's even a part of you still tied to her, Logan. I won't be the in-between." He looked at me, eyes full of regret. "I don't want to lose you." "Then you need to figure it out. Because I already know what I want." And I walked into my room, closed the door, and finally let myself cry. Because I loved him and love. Real love shouldn't have to compete with ghosts. Asterisk. The worst kind of pain isn't the screaming kind. It's not the screaming kind. It's the silence. The way everything gets quieter after a wound. How the things you used to do together feel empty, like shadows of themselves. That's how the apartment felt after that night. Quieter, colder. I avoided Logan like it was a matter of survival, slipping out before he woke up, locking my bedroom door like it could somehow keep my feelings out. But the ache was everywhere. In the untouched coffee mug on the counter, in the way his shoes were still lined up beside mine, in the notes we used to leave for each other, now replaced with nothing but absence. It wasn't just about Claire. It was about trust. About wondering if I was just convenient. About realizing that the thing I thought was solid, maybe it was just a beautiful illusion. He tried. I'll give him that. He knocked on my door, asked if we could talk. Slipped quiet apologies under the crack when I didn't answer. But I needed time. Or maybe I needed clarity. Either way, I couldn't look at him without hearing those words again. I don't know. That hesitation had carved a hole in me I didn't know how to patch. 2 weeks passed, then one night. I came home late, train-soaked and exhausted, and found him sitting in the dark again. Same spot on the couch. Beer untouched. Except this time, there was a small box on the coffee table in front of him. I tried to walk past, but his voice stopped me. Can I just say something? He asked without looking up. I sighed, but I nodded. I didn't sit. She came back and wanted to rewrite history, he said. Act like nothing happened. Like I should just pick up where we left off. And for a second, I was angry enough, lost enough to listen. He finally looked up at me, eyes tired and open. But the only thing I thought about when she was standing there was you. The way you laugh when you're tired. How you talk to your plants like they're roommates. How I never felt more like myself than when you were lying next to me. I swallowed. Hard, but didn't move. He gestured to the box. I found this last week and couldn't decide what to do with it. But I think you should see it. I hesitated, then slowly sat down and opened it. Inside was a stack of photo zoos. Laughing in the kitchen, watching movies, me asleep on the couch with his hoodie wrapped around me. All these stolen, quiet moments I didn't even know he'd captured. I took those because I didn't want to forget, he said, voice cracking, and that scared me, 'cause I never did that with her. Not once. I looked at him, my heart pounding so loud I could barely think. I love you, he whispered. I didn't say it when I should have, and I know I messed up. But I've never been more sure of anything than I am of you. The silence that followed felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to fall or fly. I wanted to forgive him, wanted to believe him, but some part of me still hurt, still bled. I'm scared, I whispered. So am I, he said. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. And just like that, my walls cracked again. I didn't say I love you back, not yet, but I leaned in and I kissed him, and that said everything. I wasn't ready to speak aloud. Asterisk, they say. Love is enough, but that's not always true. Love comes wrapped in fear, in timing that doesn't line up, in people still learning how to stop running from themselves. After that night on the couch, the box of photos, the trembling confession, I thought maybe we'd finally turned a corner, and in some ways, we had. Logan and I started trying again, slowly, carefully. There were still awkward silences. Moments where old fears showed their teeth, but we were showing up for real this time. He started leaving the light on in the kitchen when he knew I'd be home late. I started bringing him coffee when he had long work days. We kissed in the mornings like we meant it. We fought sometimes too, but it was different now, honest. We were both still terrified, but we were trying. And then I found the letter. It was 2 weeks later. stuffed into the side pocket of the laundry basket we kept in the hall closet. It was addressed to Logan, written in Claire's handwriting, and dated the week after she visited. My heart nearly stopped. I shouldn't have opened it, I know that. But curiosity and fear can be cruel allies. The letter was short, simple. She thanked him for listening, told him she understood his choice. And then, at the very end, a line that stuck to my ribs like ice. If things ever fall apart, I'll be here. You and I had something real once. You know where to find me. Must have read that line 10 times. I don't know why it hurt so much, maybe because it confirmed what I'd feared all along. That I wasn't just building something with Logan, I was competing with a ghost. That night, I didn't mention the letter. I couldn't. He kissed me like he always did, and I kissed him back. But something in me had shifted. Quietly, fatally. Over the next few days, I started pulling away not out of punishment, but preservation. Because even though he chose me, a part of me couldn't shake the feeling that I was just someone he was choosing for now. And I wanted more than that. I deserved more than that. The final moment came one night when we were lying in bed, his hand on my waist, his breath warm. Against my neck. "Are you happy?" he whispered, and I froze. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I did. I rolled over, looked into his eyes, said the hardest thing I've ever said in my life. "I love you, Logan, but I don't think I'd trust you enough to stay." His face broke, shattered. I watched the words hit him, saw the panic rise. The pain he tried to swallow. "But we're okay now," he said, reaching for me. "We're trying, I know," I whispered. "And I'll never regret what we had. But part of me still feels like I'm waiting to be left. I can't live like that. Not anymore." He begged me to stay. Asked if there was anything he could do to fix it. But some cracks don't show until it's too late. And I knew if I stayed, I'd always wonder, always fear the moment he'd find his way back to her or to someone else. So I left, quietly, respectfully, with love still burning in my chest. It's been 3 months now. I think about him more than I'd like to admit. But I'm learning that loving someone and choosing yourself aren't always the same thing, and sometimes walking away is the most honest kind of love there is. We weren't just roommates. We weren't just lovers. We were something in between. And even if we never find our way back, I'll never forget the night we blurred every line and the part of me I found in the aftermath.